Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I can see we've got quite a few attendees here already, and I'm hoping that a few more will trickle in. But I'm going to get things started and run through a few of the administrative details that you'll need to cover just to make sure everybody knows how to speak and how to ask questions. And then I'll cover the skeleton of what we're going to be going through today. And then we'll get round to introductions and the main content. So as far as introductions go, there are two of us here. You've got myself, Theo, and you've also got Jason Vandermeer on the line. And actually, I'll let Jason introduce himself because you'll probably get a far more accurate picture that way.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Jason Vandermeer. As you can see, I'm the Vice President of Product Management here at Terra Microsystems. And I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. We're really excited to speak to all of you this week about the events that's happened over the past couple of weeks and even the events over the past couple months of what we've been up to at Terra Microsystems and what we've done to construct this new company and to form this new company and to innovate in the legal technology marketplace. So today we're very excited to talk to you about Clause Companion and what it means to us, what it means to the market, what it means to the core and key users that we really want to drive value from this product. So today we're going to be going through some of the things that we saw in the marketplace, some of the, we'll take you through the journey that we had in creating Clause Companion and, what it means for the future. So, with that said, Theo, do you want to give an introduction of yourself?
Yes, certainly. So my name's Theo Lister. I'm the product manager for Clause Companion, and I work on a few of the other Terra Microsystems products as well you may be familiar with, like Contract Companion and Litigation Companion. But I've effectively spent my entire career either studying law, working within law, or working within legal tech. So this is, as a new product, it's always a very exciting journey for the people working within it. And my job is mainly to interface with the developers and make sure that everything that customers are saying in the market and the needs that they're demonstrating, that we're properly communicating these internally and making sure that the end product we come up with satisfies all those needs. And as Jason has mentioned, as the VP of Product Management, he oversees the entire the document lifecycle, our product portfolio, and I'm going to delve into a little bit more of that. But first, I did want to make sure that everybody is aware as well, just a few of the things that are happening as far as the agenda and housekeeping. So everyone by default will be muted other than people presenting. And towards the end, we'll make sure that everyone has time to ask a few questions. And you can do that by either raising your virtual hand using the hand icon, or you can just type a question in the chat and we'll get back to you. And you may not need to speak out at all. We can just read it for everyone else and let everybody know. So as Jason mentioned, we're going to delve into the journey that led us to creating the product, but also then show you a little bit about the product in action. And then we'll follow up with the QA session. And the first part of this, the why, I do want to start by breaking down some of the key events that took place as a part of this journey. The first would be ILTACon last year in August, which is where we formally announced that Terra Microsystems as an entity was coming into being. And then we followed that in January 2018 with the Unite conference. And this is where we flew everybody all over the world as part of the new entity, got us all, put us in a room, and made sure that we could truly all speak together and we were communicating and that the different teams knew what each other team did and that we were making sure that we were breaking down some of those internal barriers. That was followed by legal tech, and as we will show you in the timeline of Clause Companion itself, this was when we really took what we had to market and got some feedback on the first iteration of the product, worked out what needed to be changed, what seemed to be resonating with people, and then we took that forward to Clause Companion, the product, which was released in April. And as we go through this presentation, you'll see us refer a few times to the document lifecycle, and that is something that Terra Microsystems, we're really coming together to really attack every side of this equation the different processes and the different procedures that happen as a document lives out and as a document goes from kind of start to beginning. And it's a very interesting topic to us, and it's kind of our inspiration moving forward as to how we're going to be positioning our products. And in terms of inspiration, and for Clause Companion in particular, Jason, are you able to go into a little bit more detail as to what inspired us for this?
Yeah, sure can. So, Theo laid out a number of the key events that that we saw last year that were part of milestones in developing the product as Clause Companion. But what inspired us is looking at the legal tech market, and more importantly, looking at the challenges that our core users, lawyers, were facing with managing documents, interfacing with documents, trying to get content into the documents, and issues found, when working in documents. We really looked and we said, we have a lot of tools to help lawyers fix issues, but we don't necessarily have good tools and solutions to help lawyers insert their content in a very streamlined and for that matter, easy fashion into a document. So there's a gap there that we saw, and a challenge of events that were happening prior to documents being corrupted and having issues. So we said, well, let's try to focus on that. Let's see if we can address that problem in the marketplace and create some solution that can encompass the workflows of the lawyers while creating a solution to help with those workflows. And as we were forming these companies, you're bringing these companies together and forming Terra Microsystems, we really took stock of the Create platforms that we had that we're bringing together. And we reviewed them and we said, how can we extend them and how can we use the knowledge that we have in-house by forming these companies to create a solution that encompasses and solve problems as part of that workflow. And as we looked at what we had on the table and we looked at what the competition was in the marketplace, we realized that a solution simply just didn't exist that could comprehensively solve those problems. So we said, well, let's build something new. Let's introduce a new product to the marketplace that solves the problem in a different way. And those were the early stages of coming up with what Clause Companion is today. We wanted to start and solve a couple of the problems and make those solutions easily accessible to the lawyers who are working fast, who are working diligently and living in Word, and providing an interface and a solution for them to flip content into their documents that's theirs and theirs alone, that they know and trust. And that is where we came up with Clause Companion. And we know we're not solving all of the issues and all of the problems, but this is a start. And we took a utilitarian approach to try to solve a couple problems really well for a large number of users and use that as a foundation to build on to grow the product, to mature the product, and extend into solving other problems. So that is really what inspired us. So Theo, we talked about some of the timeline, starting in mid-2017 with these ideas and being inspired by this. You were one of the people that was really out in the field analyzing the market and trying to figure out what the specific problems were and what our opportunities were to solve those. So in the later half of 2017 last year, what were you seeing as you were doing this research?
Well, actually, one of the big advantages of everybody coming together to form the Terra Microsystems is that we have so many people that are so experienced in the market, plenty of ex-lawyers. It's actually very easy to get a good basis of understanding of the right questions to ask before you go into the field and ask people for feedback, because of course we want this to be very lawyer focused, but lawyers themselves, their time is very precious and they can be very busy. So if you have the right questions to ask going in, then that can sometimes expedite the process of getting feedback. And one of the things we were discovering is that lawyers will do a lot of interesting things to make sure that they have access to clauses that they've drafted before. And the consequence of that is, and because there seems to be no comprehensive solution already out there for storing them, is that lots of disjointed methods were being employed to focus on that storage. So it might be the case of storing preferred language in a Word document somewhere, or in the email drafts folder. But one of the most common was backtracking to an older document, getting rid of everything other than the provisions that they were looking for, and then starting fresh with that document. And this wasn't something that was new to us, but it was something that we were trying to address in a new way. So we have DocX tools on the market for fixing the numbering issues that happens when lawyers go through that. Parts of Contract Companion that resolve different issues that can creep in when you refer to particular names or company names. But we then found there was some internal friction happening within the law firm between the lawyers themselves and the knowledge management teams that are there to help them draft better. Lawyers are very output focused and they need to get things done quickly and to high quality. But with the discussions around the billable hour and the rise of fixed fee, there's even more pressure to work fast and get things right the first time around. Knowledge management, of course, is just trying to make sure that all drafting done is up to date, in line with things that the company as a whole wants to be putting out there. And this is an experienced team, often with ex-lawyers taken out of circulation, so they can specifically spend time researching points of law. But in practice, this can cause a clash with lawyers thinking that they're trying to be controlled and that this process is in place are hurdles to getting their work done. And it causes frustration with knowledge management, and they're just trying to help the lawyers. So there's an understanding there, but there's still frustration. So where those 2 points come together is if we can create a process that helps lawyers do work more effectively and more efficiently, and if that process slows them down, they'll see it as a hurdle. So the best solutions are the ones which aren't introducing a hurdle to the lawyer's workflow, something that a lawyer can understand immediately, because if there's a learning curve, they will disconnect quite quickly. Because people joke that lawyers are Luddites who'd rather be using typewriters, but in reality, lawyers just want to learn enough to get working, whichever platform they're using, and then get on with their work. So when the platforms change and get more advanced, we find them sticking with workflows they know until they have the time to learn these new changes. And with their schedules being as they are, that time may never actually materialize, and they'll continue using old processes. So we took that into account and had to make something that was simple enough to get picked up by lawyers, simple enough that we could move fast with it. And the reality we realized was that we couldn't create an entirely new process and reinvent the wheel. We had to find something that lawyers already do and then make it easier. And that was an interesting journey. And it's one that I'm going to let Jason elaborate on a little bit more.
Right. So leading up to the product release, as Theo mentioned, there's a journey to get there, and we mentioned a number of things that were going on at this time. Obviously, we announced to the greater market and the public the launch and the merge of the Sackett Group, Terra, and Microsystems at Ilticon in August. And from August until the end of the year, until we launched Terra Microsystems in early January, we were rather quiet. We were business as usual. The entities that existed in the past continued to operate in parallel as various teams worked to integrate the companies together. And we worked diligently for about 5 months to analyze our companies, analyze the processes, analyze the products we had on the table, and really to form one company, to form one team. And then obviously, as Theo mentioned, to bring us all together for an internal conference called the Unite Conference. But in doing this, what we realized is that we had is that a combined entity, we can do more and move faster and better service our customers than we were individually. This isn't a market takeover play. This is a market expansion play for us to be able to do more for you, our customers. And as we got through this, we knew we wanted to create a solution to solve these problems. And as Theo mentioned, the later half of the year in 2017, he and the teams were out researching the market, discussing with people, figuring out what these problems are, and we came up with a pretty good view of what it was that we wanted to create, but we needed to then create something. So we said, well, we've been talking about being able to move faster and be more innovative as a combined entity, so let's start doing that. And in December, after Theo and the teams, presented back what we had found and what our opportunities were, we said, let's get started at a POC. a proof of concept of this Clause Companion, this creation platform for lawyers, and let's work hard, let's work passionately to get something out and show the market what we can do at Legal Tech in New York in late January. And we did that, and we had a number of teams that worked together, that collaborated in late December, through the cold winter, over the holidays, and in January, as we were wrapping up the final finishing touches on the launch of Terra Microsystems. We were also working in parallel to create and launch this product. And when we went to Legal Tech New York to show what we were able to create in about 5 weeks, we sat around the table and we said, this is who we are, this is what we want to do in the market, this is what our value prop is as a combined entity. And by the way, here's what we did in our spare time. We created a new product that can encompass a new workflow and solve a diverse set of problems that hadn't really been able to be solved before. And we stood in front of a number of our customers at Legal Tech New York, and we said this, and it was an inspiring moment because not only were we able to create a new company to change the dynamic in the legal technology marketplace, we were able to create a new product to solve these problems to further add to that value proposition, proving that we can move faster than we were before and we can innovate in ways that we were never able to individually. And people were excited. People were excited to work with us, and we had a record Q1. After that event, and with the launch of Clause Companion, we're getting a lot of interest, in it and demoing it and getting a lot of great feedback of it. And there's a lot of people that are really excited to start using it to improve their workflows. So with that said, Theo, that was kind of, what the journey was like to get us here. As you were developing this product, we were working in a very agile method where we were making rapid changes, showing the marketplace and key customers what we've been up to, getting feedback, and making further changes to better refine the product. So, Theo, in Q1 2018, what was some of the feedback that you were seeing and hearing based on these initial versions of Clause Companion?
Well, during that period, we were getting a mixture of high-level feedback and low-level feedback. And when you're moving quickly, you need to make sure you're getting feedback as consistently as possible so you can continue to iterate. And if you know you're making a wrong turn, you can quickly course correct and get right back on track. So our reality was when talking to people kind of at the C-level of decision makers and the lawyers themselves, you don't get a lot of time to go over the details. You get enough time for an impression and maybe a little bit more if you're lucky. So the main high-level feedback that we were getting was very short and concise, that the concept makes sense, and if it works in practice, then there's interest in getting it installed and running on lawyers' desktops. So there've then been a few conversations at the lower level, and that's really, from my perspective, working with the development team and trying to make sure that all the nuts and bolts fit together and work nicely. That's also been incredibly helpful. So this is always, just about always, with knowledge management personnel themselves, and we find that getting involved in that process, there's interest in making sure that both of those parties are communicating. So the lawyers and the knowledge management personnel are able to talk to each other and facilitate each other's workflow. So the low-level information, because the lawyers don't have the time always to give us the detailed feedback we need, we've been leaning a lot on knowledge management personnel, and we really appreciate that it's just a conversation between two parties, and both users are able to inform us as to how to make a better product. So multiple parties have been involved in giving us feedback, and then we move on to what we actually produced. And I think, Jason, you're able to give us a high-level overview, and then I can actually go into a short demonstration as to what it is and how it works.
Right, sure. So, based on the early feedback and based on that platform that we wanted to build on to solve more, we're looking ahead to, what we want to do next. So the first iteration of Clause Companion, as Theo is going to show in a moment, really encompasses that lawyer workflow and allows those individuals to stay within Word and to manage and reuse their own content in a stable, structured way while allowing them to search for and find their own content. looking ahead, in very soon, after this initial release at the end of Q2 and going into Q3, we're going to be spinning up instances where content can be shared and distributed via web services and via a centralized database that knowledge management has the ability to control and curate content to be distributed down to practice groups. But it also, in some ways, more importantly, is going to allow lawyers to manage the content themselves and share within their practice groups. So we're really excited and looking ahead to providing more on-prem web services for these individuals to manage the content. Looking further ahead, our future vision for this is we really want to make this an open platform, right? This is an internal content repository that users are organically created. And as I mentioned, we're going to have a number of web services available to distribute this content. Our vision is to create open interfaces and open web APIs that other third-party applications can use to analyze that content and potentially to inject content into that data store as well. So we're looking to really democratize the content and really open this up via an open platform interface to allow law firms to better curate their own content, to better analyze their own content, and to better use their own content. So that's our future vision. We're really excited about it. As I said, this first iteration is just our first step in that direction. And Theo, I'll hand it right back to you to give everybody a taste of what it looks like and what value it can add into the drafting workflow.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, so that is the vision of the future, and so my day-to-day is kind of the vision of the present, what actually is there in the product we've released and what we're releasing to the market. So this is a very high-level overview of what it looks like within Microsoft Word, but I'm going to get down to business and actually jump into Microsoft Word itself and just show a little bit about what it looks like and what it can actually do. So Clause Companion itself, it sits within Microsoft Word. As we've already discussed, the process itself is so heavily embedded in Word that we wanted to make sure we were at the fingertips of the lawyer as they're working on their content. And it's here as a part of what we like to call the Companion Suite. And you can see there's quite a few products here as part of this Companion Suite, and Clause Companion fits here, kind of at the start of this process. So I can use this to open the library of content that I've already produced. And you can see here, it's all managed into a folder and item structure, and I can choose between content I've used before and things that have been provided to me externally. So for something like this, it may just be a case of scrolling through my document and seeing places where I need to insert content. I need to insert a clause I've drafted before, and maybe I was so busy doing something else that I had to just leave a note for myself to get back to something, knowing that I'd have the time later on. So something like this, where I've just left an internal drafting note, it happens all the time, and we sometimes see people leaving drafting notes in their documents just because they're in a rush. So something like this, where I have something in square brackets, I can just understand I've left a direction to myself. So because I've run in this document before, use and disclosure is quite a consistent set of terms. So I can take this and then I have the option to just insert it into the document. And I'm going to double click because that's what I'm familiar with. But you'll see it's fast, and it inserts it within the style of the document that I'm actually inserting into, which is always useful because I am not to be, assuming I'm an end user, I'm actually quite bad at using word styles itself anyway. But assuming that, I want to make sure that if I'm inserting something into the document that it just follows convention. I don't have to make any changes to make it look correctly and follow the consistent styles. And down here, you'll see if I do have any hesitancy about inserting something, I can actually see what the content is before it goes in. So that's quite quick. And I can just go throughout my document this way and actually construct it. So making sure that if I am inserting document content, I can check it and then insert it and then go through. So that's ultimately the first part of this, is making sure that I can insert content. And that it's there, accessible, and the information that I need to go through things is also here. There's a bit more to this, of course. I mean, the first step is making sure that content I've drafted appropriately can actually be gathered up into my sections, into my folders, so I can save it for future use. So I can save clauses, and what I will probably find is if I get this on my desktop, I'll go into the document I've already produced with my preferred drafting language, or I'll find something that's particularly well drafted from somebody else, and I can just find a place to let it live. And now it's taken this, and the next time I insert it into a document, it'll be there with proper styling. And of course, there's some things I use over and over again because I am unfortunately running on the same sort of documents over and over again. This tends to happen. So I can pin things as a favorite. If I don't even want to navigate this folder structure, I just know that I'm always going to need it. I can always have it here pinned and then insert it into my document. So Clause Companion is really the first step to a wider conversation and a wider feature suite. So there's nice ways that we can tie in Clause Companion to our other products, but ultimately this is one step in the drafting lifecycle that we illustrated earlier, and this is a very discrete problem that we were seeing in the markets that lawyers were having with accessing their own content and making sure that they can reuse it and save it and not have any friction as a part of that process. So going back to the PowerPoint itself, I want to just see if anybody has any particular questions about the product, about our plans, about our company, and just see if anything we didn't cover, if anyone wanted to mention that. And as I mentioned, you can either virtually raise your hand, or you can write something in the chat if you want something to go to us, and I can read it out for everybody here. So there has been some interest in what I mentioned about the Companion suite, so how it works with Contract Companion. And it's actually an interesting topic because I kind of alluded to it when the content that I saw in a drafting note in square brackets was there in the document, because square brackets is quite a conventional way of leaving notes to self within documents, and Contract Companion by default will pick those up and display them for people. So if you pick something up in Contract Companion and you can tell it's incomplete, you can then open Clause Companion itself as well. Both of them are perfectly fine being opened at the same time. And then you can run through your items that are marked as incomplete. So you don't have to scroll through the document and visually find them. And then you can use Clause Companion to find the relevant provision and insert it. So you'll see the user interface itself, the way things are displayed. We tried to intentionally make the two look similar enough that they were compatible when you were opening both side by side. And also, let's see, a question about storage and storage size. So how many clauses can be stored? How large are they? This is one of the first questions asked by lawyers as well, is can I store an entire document just within a single clause? Something like that, or a variation of that. So there's really no limits to how large the clauses are. I mean, you saw me earlier, I inserted 2 sections with 4 subsections beneath them. That's relatively modest. Because these are meant to be clauses rather than entire documents, we advise making sure that it's cut down so that you're inserting relevant content every time. But there's not really a limit on the amount of content that can be stored within a single clause. And with all the clauses I currently have in my library, the local storage is under 10 megabytes, so it's relatively lightweight as well. And I appreciate we're coming to the end of the half hour, and I don't think any more questions have come through. Let me see. Oh no, there are a few more. Let's see. So the metadata, the created by and created on information, that is not inserted as metadata when a clause is inserted into the document. That only exists within the help text so that people can more accurately identify whether they want to insert it, how recent it is, who inserted it, who stored it originally, things like that, to make sure that you're navigating to the correct content. There was a question as to central rights, quality and standard controls, and the assigning of rights as a central repository. So that kind of links into what Jason mentioned about our plans for the future. At the moment, we're focusing on the lawyer themselves and their workflow and making sure that they can save their own content and reuse that in the future. But yes, the ultimate plan is that there'll be a level of internal control over the things that are presented to lawyers themselves. So the clauses will be stored in a database, but that will be able to be pushed to a server so that it can be shared between different people. And then you can create, as an administrator, user groups of different people who have different privileges for different folders and different clauses, and kind of enforce standards that way. A question, another about Contract Companion and Clause Companion, kind of at least I think that's how the question is phrased, whether you can use one without the other. And yes, so we're not trying to lock people into using multiple products of ours because one has a dependency on the other. They are both completely standalone, but of course, if we have control over multiple products, we like to make sure they play nicely together, and that when there's a good opportunity for one of them to hand over to the other, we make that available to kind of cut down on any confusion switching between multiple products. And so currently, if things are locally stored under my folders, it doesn't follow a user from computer to computer. The database is stored within the local machine computer itself. But as we mentioned, our future plans, that's something we're looking to experiment with the server deployment. And let me see. I think that has covered everything that's been asked. So in that case, thank you everybody for attending. Jason, if you have any closing remarks, please let me know. But thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this and listen to us. And if you do have anything else that you want to know about, please feel free to contact us, and we'd be happy to either set up a demonstration for some of your users or just have a frank discussion about where we're going with this and what we're looking to help with.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.